Before we begin, just a quick note. This video doesn't use horror footage or jump scares. Instead, I've kept it simple. Just real chilling stories and soft rain sounds in the background. Because sometimes, all it takes is a voice and your own imagination to feel fear. So if you're lying in bed, trying to sleep, just close your eyes, listen, and let the stories unfold. People in Colville don't like to talk about Hollow Pass, not because something terrible definitely happened there, but because they're not sure if anything happened at all. It's not one of those places with police tape or missing posters stapled to trees. There's no headline that says, "Hikers found dead after mysterious forest disappearance." No viral YouTube video, no Netflix documentary. But when you say the name, Hollow Pass, something shifts in the air. The older folks go quiet. The younger ones pretend they didn't hear you. And if you really press them, they just say, "It remembers," whatever that means. The trail isn't even on most maps anymore. You have to zoom in, like way in, to find it. Just a skinny line between two steep ridges north of Colville, near the border. No name tag, no ranger warnings. Just a rusted gate on the side of a logging road, and a patch of forest that always feels a little too quiet. Some say the place is cursed. Others say it's just an old trail that messes with your head. Something about how the mountains reflect sound, or magnetic shifts underground. There's no real proof, just stories. And one of those stories, it's about 6 guys who went out there for a weekend hike. They weren't thrill seekers, not ghost hunters, just normal people. Friends from an online hiking forum. Half of them hadn't even met in person before that trip. They called it the Off-Grid Weekend Challenge. No GPS, no cell service, no digital maps, just a compass, printouts, and old-school navigation. They thought it would be fun, a break from city life, something raw, pure. What they didn't know is that Hollow Pass doesn't care what you came looking for. It only cares that you showed up. Devin was the one who organized it. Type A, ex-military, always moving, wore tactical boots and packed like he was ready for the apocalypse. If there was a leader, it was him. Marcus was the map guy, laminated trail guides, a manual compass, topographic overlays printed from USGS archives. Smart dude, a little obsessed with being prepared. Ryan was younger than the rest, just turned 22. Brought a GoPro, a drone, a bunch of power banks, kept saying, "This is gonna look so good on the vlog." Then there was Nick, dry humor. Bit of an asshole sometimes, but funny. He worked in insurance, hated his job, needed the trip more than he admitted. Elijah barely spoke. Quiet, serious, used to solo hiking. Devin added him last minute when someone else dropped out. And finally, Tom. He wasn't supposed to be there. His brother was part of the original group, but bailed. Tom took his place. He figured, why not? Long weekend, fresh air, strangers who shared the same hobby. 6 men, 1 trail, 2 nights. That was the plan. They met at a gas station north of Colville around 7:40 a.m. Friday morning. It was cold, not freezing, but that kind of cold where your breath starts to cloud and your fingertips feel it first. Everyone was early, parked next to each other without saying much, just unpacking gear, checking lists. No one really knew how to start the conversation. They'd talked online for weeks, but in person, it was different. Devin finally broke the silence. "All right, let's roll." They left the station in 3 cars, driving deep into the woods. The roads narrowed fast. Asphalt turned to gravel, gravel turned to packed dirt. The tree canopy above them grew tighter. Cell signals vanished somewhere around the third turn. Marcos leaned forward in the passenger seat and said, "It should be just up here on the left. We'll see a rusted gate." "Looks like something out of a horror movie," Ryan muttered. Tom, driving behind them, couldn't help but agree. And then, there it was, a metal gate, chained open and leaning slightly to one side. Behind it, a narrow dirt trail leading into forest so thick you couldn't see more than 20 feet in. They all parked quietly. Nobody said anything for a moment. The woods in front of them were still. Not peaceful, just still. Like the air wasn't moving. Nick stood with his arms crossed, frowning. "So this is it?" Marcus nodded, unfolding his map. "Hollow Pass starts right here. We follow this ridge line, hit the first bend around mile 4, and then head northwest to the lake." Ryan panned his GoPro across the trees. "Creepy, man." Devin looked at the sky. Overcast, but no rain yet. "We got daylight. Let's move." They stepped past the gate at 9:42 a.m. For the first mile, it felt normal. Pine needles crunching under boots. Cool air. Distant sound of birds, maybe. The trail was narrow, but clearly used before. Worn dirt, exposed roots, some orange flag markers tied to trees that had long since faded. Conversation picked up. They joked about how cursed the place looked, how Nick would probably die first, how Ryan's drone would definitely go missing. Laughter helped. It made the woods feel less tight. But about 30 minutes in, things shifted. It wasn't dramatic, no jump scare, just a feeling. The wind stopped, and the forest got quiet again. Not like before. This was worse. Heavy. Like sound couldn't pass through the trees anymore. Ryan tried to fly his drone, but it lost signal instantly. It hovered weirdly, jerking like it couldn't find balance, then dropped flat into a patch of wet leaves. "Guess that's done," he muttered. They kept moving. It was Marcus who noticed it first. He slowed down, checked his compass, frowned. Devin noticed and asked, "What's up?" "We've been walking north the whole time, yeah?" "Pretty much." Marcus tilted the compass, shook it, tapped the glass. "The needle's off, keeps jumping." Devin checked his own. Same issue. No one said it out loud, but you could feel it in the group. That quiet, unsettled energy. Tom felt it too. Like they were walking into something they hadn't earned the right to see. And just before they rounded the bend, Elijah, who hadn't said a single word since the trail began, stopped walking. The rest of them noticed a few seconds later. Devin turned back. "You good?" Elijah stood there, staring at a spot in the trees about 10 feet off the trail. "There's someone standing there," he said softly. Everyone froze. But when they looked, nothing. No one. Just trees. And a strange, shallow indent in the forest floor, like something had been standing there, but didn't leave footprints. They kept walking. No one joked after that, and none of them noticed that their watches had all frozen. At 9:42 a.m., they didn't talk about it. Elijah didn't explain what he saw or thought he saw, and the others didn't push. Maybe because none of them wanted to admit they'd felt it too. That flicker of something standing off the trail. Not watching exactly, more like waiting. And the weird part, none of their watches had moved since they stepped in, still stuck on 9:42 a.m. Tom noticed his first. He tapped the screen, held the side button, restarted it. Nothing. Ryan said it was probably some signal issue or battery thing, but it wasn't just the smartwatches. Marcus had an old-school field watch, analog. Even that was frozen. Devin tried brushing it off. We've barely walked 2 miles. Let's keep moving. But something in his voice, it wasn't as confident as before. The trees started to change around mile 3. It was subtle. At first, they just looked taller, like older growth, thicker trunks, less sunlight pushing through. The leaves were darker, almost purple-green, and the forest floor was covered in long, matted moss. And the further they walked, the quieter it got. Not silent like before. This was different. It was like sound itself was being muffled. Every footstep felt like it was landing in water. Their own voices sounded farther away, like the woods were swallowing them one word at a time. Around what should have been noon, not that they could confirm it, they took a break. Nick slumped against a fallen log, rubbing the back of his neck. Okay, seriously, is it just me? Or does it feel like we've been walking for 6 hours already? Ryan dropped his pack. Yeah, I'm starving. Devin looked at the sky. It wasn't cloudy, but it also wasn't bright. Just this dull, hazy light with no clear source, like it was always morning, but never getting closer to afternoon. Marcus pulled out the map again. This ridge, we should have passed it by now. He pointed to a line that curved around the left side of a printed elevation bump. We're either going too slow, or this trail loops wider than it looks, Nick muttered, or we're walking in circles. Devin gave him a look. Don't start that. I'm just saying, how many left turns have we made? None, right? And yet somehow, he stood up and turned in a slow circle. This all looks exactly the same. No one argued, because he was right. Tom walked a little ahead to pee and clear his head. He didn't go far, maybe 30, 40 feet. The others were still in earshot, but the moment he stepped off the trail, the temperature dropped. Not a lot, just enough that his skin prickled. And then, he heard it, a voice, software female, almost behind him. It said just one thing. Tom. He turned immediately. Nothing, just trees, same as before, but his stomach dropped, because whoever said his name sounded calm, like they knew him. He walked back to the group, not saying a word. Elijah looked at him for a moment, eyes narrowed, as if he knew. They kept going, and the longer they walked, the less sense the trail made. It never went uphill or downhill, just this constant narrow path, winding flatly through thicker and thicker forest. No roots, no rocks, no variation, like the terrain had been designed. Marcus started falling behind, not physically, mentally. He kept blinking like he was trying to wake up. Nick waved a hand in front of him. Yo, you good? Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah, I just forgot what we're doing. Devin stopped. What? I mean, I know we're hiking. I know we're headed to the lake. I know all that, but... He looked around, unfocused. I can't remember leaving the last rest point. Ryan tried to make a joke. Man's lagging IRL. No one laughed. They stopped again, around what they guessed was late afternoon. The air felt heavier now, like the pressure had dropped. Even the insects had gone quiet. Only their own breathing and the occasional soft crunch underfoot reminded them this was real, that they were still inside time. Nick whispered, mostly to himself, "There's no wind." Tom nodded. "No birds either." Ryan said, "Maybe it's just deep forest." "That happens, right?" Elijah replied for the first time in hours. "Number forests breathe, even quiet ones. They breathe. And this one wasn't." Devin tried to get everyone moving. "Let's hit the lake and make camp. We'll reset there." They walked for another hour, 2. At some point, it just felt pointless. The trail wasn't ending. The surroundings weren't changing. Even the sky stayed the same, dull, dim, and grey. Then Marcus stopped, dead in his tracks. "What?" Devon asked. Marcus pointed at a tree just off the trail. Tied around its trunk was a strip of orange nylon ribbon, the exact same marker they'd passed 2 hours earlier. "No way," Nick said. "That's not the same one." Ryan walked over. "How can you tell?" Marcus crouched, brushing leaves near the base of the tree. Buried partially in the soil was a used protein bar wrapper, the same brand Marcus had eaten that morning. Same flavor, same torn edge. "This is the same spot." No one said it, but they all felt it. The trail had brought them back. They weren't walking forward. They were walking in loops. Time wasn't moving. Direction wasn't real. And somewhere behind the trees, something was watching. Not hiding, not stalking. Just waiting. Like it had seen this exact moment before. And it knew what came next. They sat in silence for a long time. Nobody touched their packs. Nobody asked what to do next, because there was nothing left to decide. The trail had made the decision for them. They were walking in loops, and time, whatever it used to be, didn't work here anymore. Tom glanced at his watch again. 9:42 a.m. Just like it had been since the moment they stepped in. The sun hadn't moved either. Sky still that flat grey haze, like a backlit sheet with no source. Ryan finally said, "Should we just camp here?" Devin looked at him. "Here, in the same spot we just passed hours ago?" Ryan shrugged. "What else are we supposed to do?" They unpacked slowly. It wasn't even evening, but their legs ached, their throats were dry, and their minds felt foggy, like they'd been running without knowing it. Even setting up camp didn't feel real. The tents went up, the pads got inflated. Ryan clipped his GoPro to a branch, but nobody talked. The woods around them felt closer, like the trees had leaned in, like they'd been listening. About an hour later, Marcus started humming, softly, a tune no one recognized. Tom looked at him. "What's that?" Marcus didn't answer. He just kept rocking a little, eyes half-lidded. Devin asked again, louder. Still nothing. Then Marcus blinked fast, like waking up, and said, "What? You okay?" Yeah, I'm fine." But he looked pale, sweaty, and there was something off about his eyes, like they weren't focusing right, like they weren't his. They ate quietly. Dried meals, protein bars. No one really had an appetite. Elijah stayed seated on a fallen log, staring off into the trees. At one point, Nick threw a stick toward the woods, not far, just 10 feet, and said, "This place is messing with us. I swear I saw that same tree 5 times today." No one responded, but Elijah finally spoke, very calmly, almost too calmly. "I've been here before." Everyone turned. Devin squinted. "What are you talking about?" "I didn't remember at first," Elijah said. "Not until we passed the ridge. Not until the compass stopped working." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "You're joking." "I was 15, Elijah said, voice steady. "My uncle brought me here. He called it a shortcut to the lake. Said it was an old trail no one used anymore." Tom stared at him. "And we got lost. For 2 days. He was different after that." Silence. Elijah didn't blink. He kept hearing voices, kept saying the trees moved when he looked away. And then, one morning, he just walked off. I woke up and he was gone. No footprints, no trail. Ryan laughed nervously. "You're messing with us." But Elijah just said, "The trail doesn't let you go until it's done with you." That night, or whatever night meant in a place with no sun, they tried to sleep. Tried. but the light never faded. It stayed dim, dull, grey, like the beginning of evening frozen in time. And the forest, it stopped making sound completely. No wind, no branches, no insects. Just breathe, just heartbeats, just waiting. Sometime later, no one knew how much time had passed. Tom sat up sharply in his tent. He heard something, a voice, again, softer this time, closer. It said, "Tom, you're not lost. You just need to listen." He opened the tent, heart pounding, looked around. Nothing. Just tents, just gear, just trees. But then, Elijah sat up too, slowly, head tilted like he was tracking a sound. And then he said, "Did you hear it this time?" Tom froze. "You heard it too." Elijah didn't move, just whispered, "It knows your name." Tom stood up slowly, stepped closer to Elijah. His hands were cold, palms damp. Nick rolled over, groggy. "What's going on?" Elijah turned to him, calm, hollow-eyed. "It's starting." "What is?" Devon asked, now sitting up, eyes narrowed. But Elijah didn't answer. He just lay back down, pulled his sleeping bag to his chin, and said softly, like it was a fact, "The trail doesn't take everyone at once. It waits. It chooses." Far behind them in the trees, something snapped. A single crack, like wood splitting. But it echoed too long, and it didn't bounce back. It just sank, like the forest absorbed it. No one moved, no one spoke. They just listened. And that was the first night they realized there might not be a way out. Marcus didn't sleep. He just sat there, legs crossed, hands on his knees, eyes open. No blanket, no movement, no expression. When morning came, or rather, when that dull sky stayed exactly the same, Tom noticed it first. He stepped out of his tent, stretched his sore arms, and saw Marcus still in the exact same position from hours earlier. He looked dehydrated, lips dry, skin pale. "Dude," Tom whispered, "you okay?" Marcus blinked slowly, like he was booting up. "What?" "You've been sitting there all night." "No, I went to sleep, didn't I?" Tom didn't answer. He just stared at Marcus, suddenly unsure if he was talking to the same version of the man from yesterday. Devin called everyone together. "All right, no more wandering. We move as one, straight west. We don't break formation. No more jokes, no more distractions." He pointed at Marcus. "You okay to move?" Marcus hesitated. "Yeah, of course." Nick frowned. "You sure? You look like Shorty." Marcus didn't respond. He just turned toward the trail and started walking. Within 30 minutes, the path changed. Visibly, it was no longer the same narrow trail cutting through familiar trees. Now it forked, hard left and hard right, both directions equally overgrown, equally unnatural. Marcus stopped. "I don't remember this." Devin looked at the compass, still useless. "We stick to the left." Ryan hesitated. "Why left?" "I don't know," Devin admitted. "But it feels right." "No," Marcus said suddenly. "Left is wrong." They all turned to him. I think He grabbed the map from his pack, unfolded it shakily. "The lake is near the ridgeline, right? And we've been..." He stopped, then quietly, "Where's the ridgeline?" They all turned. Trees, just trees, thick and endless. No elevation, no slope, no landmark. Just endless horizontal forest like the world itself had been flattened. "Wait," Marcus whispered. "I don't remember how long we've been here." They didn't speak after that. Not about time, not about direction. Everyone just followed the path because doing anything else felt worse. Sometime later, minutes, hours, Ryan spotted something between the trees. "Guys, wait." He ran a few steps off trail, holding his camera. "There's something here." Tom followed reluctantly. They reached a low pile of moss-covered stones, stacked in a way that didn't feel natural. Carved into the largest one was a name. Reyes, 1984. Underneath it, 3 came back. 1 changed. Devin stepped forward. "What the hell is this? Like a grave?" Ryan asked. "No," Elijah said softly. "Like a warning." Then they heard it. Rustling, far off, quick. Branches snapping, leaves shifting. The sound of footsteps running, but too fast. Like something long-legged scraping bark, not even trying to stay hidden. Then it stopped, and from somewhere deeper in the woods, they heard Ryan's voice. "Devin." Devin turned. Ryan was standing next to him, but the voice had come from deeper inside the trees. Everyone froze. Then the voice came again. Ryan's voice, soft, echoing, like it was coming from underground. "You guys coming? I think I found it." Ryan backed up. "I didn't say that." Tom whispered. "Then who the fuck did?" They stayed still. Even the air felt heavier now, thick with moisture, like breathing through wet cloth. Devin's hands were shaking, barely noticeable, but enough. And then, the voice came again, closer this time. Ryan's voice, exactly the same tone, but this time it said, "We're not lost, we're just hollow." Everyone turned to Elijah, but Elijah didn't look surprised. He looked sad, like he already knew what was happening. "Okay," Devin said finally. "Enough. We go back, now." Nick laughed, sharp and humorless. "Back where? You don't even know which way we came from." Devin didn't answer, because he couldn't. They started moving anyway, no direction, just instinct. But within 15 minutes the woods changed again. The trees shifted, the air tightened. They passed by a pile of stones. Tom stopped. "No fucking way." Same carving. "Reyes, 1984. Same angle, same moss, same arrangement. It wasn't a new spot. They'd walked in another circle, but they hadn't turned. They'd moved in a straight line. Ryan backed away from the stone. "This place is folding, like it's not real." Elijah said nothing, just stared at the sky. Then Marcus spoke again, quiet, weak. "What's your name?" Tom looked at him. "What?" "You. I know you, but I can't." He trailed off. Then he pointed at Nick. "And him. I knew his name this morning, but it's just gone." Nick stepped back. "You're messing with me." "I'm not," Marcus said. "I swear to God, He blinked, suddenly confused. "Why are we here?" That night, they didn't bother with tents. They just sat in a half circle near the Reyes stone. No one wanted to move. No one wanted to sleep. Because now, even closing their eyes felt unsafe. The woods were breathing, slow, deep, like something enormous was just beyond the trees, watching. And from time to time, they heard Ryan's voice again, calling, inviting, not from one place, from everywhere at once. And just before the light dimmed, if it could be called that, Tom noticed something, a symbol, carved faintly into a tree near where Marcus had sat. He leaned closer. It was a spiral, jagged, faded, but still fresh under the bark, and around it were 5 scratches, like claw marks, fresh, deep, and bleeding sap. Tom didn't tell the others, not yet, because for the first time since entering Hollow Pass, he felt it. This place didn't want them to leave, and the part that scared him most, he wasn't sure he wanted to either. Marcus was gone, not screaming, not running, not torn apart, just gone. One moment he was there, standing a few steps away, holding the same broken compass he'd been checking over and over. Next moment, Silence. No footsteps. No rustling leaves, like the forest had closed its hand and taken him. Tom was the first to notice. Wait, where's Marcus? They all turned. No movement, no sound, just a space where someone used to be. Ryan spun in a circle. Did he step off the trail? No one heard anything, Nick muttered, eyes darting. Not even a branch snap. That's not possible, Devin said. But even he didn't believe his own voice. And then Elijah said something that chilled them. He didn't leave. He was removed. They searched for an hour, or what felt like an hour, calling his name, circling trees, following faint footprints that always ended mid-stride. Nothing. Just that constant wet silence. And the deeper they walked, the more wrong the forest felt. Trees that leaned inward, trunks with bark peeled in spirals, a thick, unnatural mist that hugged only the ground. And then they found it. A clearing, but not the kind they expected. This one was perfect. Too perfect. A wide, circular patch of flat soil. No plants, no roots, no rocks. Just bare earth, dark, damp, and untouched. At the center stood a single tree. Tall, blackened, hollow at the base, burnt, but not from fire. More like from the inside out. Devin stepped toward it, slowly, almost hypnotized. Don't, Elijah said. But Devin didn't stop. He walked to the base, looked into the hollow. Silence. Then he stepped back, confused. There's something in there. Tom leaned closer, squinting. Inside the hollow base, faint, almost invisible, were shoe prints, facing inward, as if someone had stepped into the tree and never stepped out. Nick backed away. We need to leave. I'm done. We don't know where to go, Ryan said. We don't even know where a way is anymore. Nick opened his mouth to argue, and then he heard it, his own voice, coming from behind a tree. I'm done. Exactly the way he had just said it. Everyone froze. The voice came again, slightly warped, like an echo through water. I'm done. 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 Nick's face went white. What the fuck was that? Devin spun around. Who said that? Elijah didn't move. He just whispered. It's learning. They moved again. Quick steps, no plan, just motion. Because standing still made everything louder. Even their own thoughts had started echoing back at them. Ryan said, "This place is mimicking us." Tom muttered, "No. It's testing us." "Why?" Devin snapped. "Why us?" Elijah finally answered. "Because we came willingly." Eventually, they reached a path. Not one they recognized. It was too smooth, too narrow, and it split in two, both sides leading into thicker dark. Ryan pulled out his backup flashlight. It worked, barely. Flickering like the battery was drained, he shined it down both trails. No difference. "Pick one," Devin said. Ryan turned to him. "Me? You brought us here," Devin said bitterly, "with your fucking vlog idea." "Whoa, relax," Tom muttered. "I said pick." Ryan looked at both paths. Then, in that moment, the flashlight beam passed over something. Footprints, in the mud, barely visible. Multiple pairs, coming from both directions. Not random. Their exact boot patterns. Tom recognized the deep V-tread of his Merrills. Ryan's were flat-toed with heel drag. Nick's had a small tear on the side. Same prints, both trails. "That's not possible," Nick whispered. Elijah closed his eyes. "It's not trying to guide us out. It's showing us. We've been here before." They camped again that night. Not by choice, but by collapse. Their bodies were done. They didn't speak. Even Ryan stopped filming. Just silence. At some point, Nick stood up, turned his back to the fire and whispered, "Do you hear that?" Tom opened his eyes. What? That voice, behind the trees. It keeps saying. He stopped. Then, it sounds like me, but scared. Devin snapped. Stop talking. Just stop. But they all heard it now. A voice, whimpering, calling out, from the woods, right at the edge of firelight. It was Nick's voice, crying, begging. Please, I don't want to go alone. Tom clenched his fists. That's not real. Nick's eyes were wide. It knows I'm breaking. Ryan started pacing. We're gonna die here, just like the others. What others? Devin barked. Ryan pointed at the Reyes marker. That wasn't random. That wasn't old. That was a message. Devin shouted, We're not gonna die here. Elijah stood slowly. Maybe not all of us. And in the final moment of that night, or morning, or whatever cursed time it was, Tom looked up at the trees, and he saw it, for the first time. Something watching from the branches. No eyes, no form, just a ripple, like the forest blinked just once, and when he looked back down, Nick was gone. Nick was gone. No sound, no scream, no struggle, just silence. And yet, his voice remained, software desperate, coming from behind trees, from beneath rocks, from above the canopy. Sometimes it whispered, sometimes it cried, and sometimes it laughed. Don't leave me. I'm right here. You brought me here. It came in waves, always familiar, but never real. Ryan snapped once, threw a rock toward the trees. Shut up. The forest answered back, with the same words, same rage, same cadence. Shut up, shut up, shut up. The echo repeated until Ryan fell to his knees, covering his ears. That morning, or whatever they now called light time, Tom noticed something strange. Every third tree they passed had a spiral mark on it, carved deep. Some bleeding sap, some long dried, same shape, same uneven strokes. When he touched one, his fingers tingled. Not pain, not heat, just buzzing, like it was pulling something from him. He didn't tell the others. Not yet. Devin started losing it next. At first it was subtle, double-checking his gear every 5 minutes, counting supplies out loud, pacing in quick circles like an animal caged too long. Then it got worse. He began mumbling, names, dates, coordinates, over and over. 4 miles north, 2 west, lake on the right, compass at 28, repeat, 4 miles. When Tom tried to calm him, Devin backed away, wide-eyed. You're not real. You're not Tom. Tom's dead. Tom froze. What? You're not real, Devin repeated. He pulled out a knife, just held it, not threatening, just confused. Are you? They tied the knife to his pack when he wasn't looking. Elijah said nothing. He just watched Devin quietly, and then turned his eyes to the spiral trees. Ryan whispered to Tom, He's next. Tom didn't answer, because secretly, he felt it too. That pull. Around what they guessed was midday, they found it. A tree bent almost in half, moss hanging like ropes from its limbs. At the base, buried in wet leaves, was a plastic trail camera. Old, weather-beaten, but intact. Tom dug it out, wiped the mud off. They opened it. Inside was an SD card. No one said anything, because in a place like this, finding evidence feels worse than finding nothing. Ryan hesitated, pulled out his power bank and his phone. Somehow, the phone booted. Maybe a glitch. Maybe the forest allowed it. He connected the card reader. One video file. Timestamp, August 17th, 2021, 9:42 a.m. They watched. Grainy footage, greenish tint, trees, and then motion. 6 people walking past the camera. Not them, but almost. One of them looked like Ryan. Same building, same gait. Another wore a jacket just like Devin's. The group paused. One guy pointed at the camera, like he'd seen it. Then the footage cut. Ryan scrubbed forward. Another group. Different year, different timestamp. Same path, same expressions, same confusion. Tom felt his mouth go dry. Why are there so many? Elijah spoke. The past repeats. It doesn't kill everyone. It just copies them, uses their voices, their faces, replays them. Ryan whispered, "How many groups have come through here?" Elijah looked at the spirals. Every one of those marks is a story the trail doesn't want forgotten. That night, Devin stood on the edge of camp, talking to someone invisible, whispering, smiling. Tom crept closer, heart pounding. He couldn't hear both sides of the conversation, just Devin. "Yeah, I remember that too. Huh, you were such an idiot back then. Same boots, man. You never changed." A pause. "No, I didn't forget. I remember you falling into the creek. I remember your sister crying. I remember..." Another pause. Longer. And then softly. "I remember dying." Tom stepped back, breath stuck in his throat, because Devin had never told them about his sister, and he'd never said anything about someone falling into a creek. But more than that, he said, "I remember dying," like it had already happened. Later that night, Ryan shook Tom awake. "I remembered something." Tom blinked. "What?" "I remembered a girl named Emma. We used to hike together. She died in a fall near the cliffs. I remember her face, her voice. I remember everything." Tom sat up. "Who's Emma?" Ryan's lips trembled. "I don't know. I've never known anyone named Emma." The forest was inside them now, not just around. Memories, thoughts, guilt. Things they'd never lived, but now remembered viscerally. Like the past wasn't feeding on them. It was rewriting them, changing who they were, one memory at a time. At the edge of camp, a voice called out again. Nick's voice, but not scared. This time it sounded confident. "Come on, guys. I found a way. I swear no one moved." Tom clenched his jaw, because that voice was closer now, much closer. The next morning began the same. Grey light, still air, no sun. And Nick's voice, soft as mist, weaving through the branches. Tom didn't speak much anymore. Something in the forest had made him question even his own thoughts. Like his memories were being shuffled, softened at the edges. And every time he tried to focus, they slipped away. Safer to stay quiet now. Elijah sat apart from the group, eyes closed, hands resting gently in his lap. Tom walked over, sat beside him. After a long silence, he asked, "Why did you come back?" Elijah opened his eyes slowly. "You already know." Tom shook his head. "No," Elijah said. "You do. Deep down. This place brings back what you're trying to forget. That's its price. You don't walk out without remembering something that never belonged to you." Tom swallowed. "You came back for your uncle." Elijah's expression shifted. Not pain, not sadness, just an emptiness. "I came back because he wasn't the first." They didn't talk after that, not until Ryan screamed. The sound echoed through the trees. Not pain, not fear, but something stranger. Like a child waking from a nightmare they couldn't understand. Tom and Devin sprinted toward the sound, found Ryan collapsed on the trail, gripping his head with both hands. "It wasn't me," he kept repeating. "It wasn't me. I didn't push her." Tom dropped to his knees. "Who?" "I was 7, at the river. There was a girl, dark hair. She fell. I watched her drown." Devin knelt. "What are you talking about?" "I can feel the water on my skin," Ryan whispered. "I remember standing there. I remember her name. I remember everything." He looked up. eyes filled with something worse than fear. "I don't have any sisters." Tom blinked, because he felt it too. That ache in his chest, like remembering something you wish you'd forgotten, but knowing you never lived it. They didn't walk far that day. The forest had shifted again. The path now curved downhill unnaturally, roots like twisted fingers, trees leaning like eavesdroppers. And then they found it, a structure, buried under moss, vines, rot, wooden, collapsed in parts. Maybe a shed once, maybe a shrine, but definitely not meant to be found. Its walls were dark, not charred, but rotted from the inside out. They pulled a plank loose, inside pitch black, dense, still, and something in there. Exhaled, not loud, but slow, deep, like something enormous, asleep but listening. Ryan backed away. "No, not going in there." Tom agreed, but Elijah stepped forward. "This wasn't here last time." "You've been here?" Devin asked sharply. Elijah nodded. "This is where I lost the others." Tom said nothing. "How many?" Elijah didn't answer. He just placed a hand on the black doorway. "This is where the trail starts deciding who stays." That night, Ryan broke again. No shouting this time. He whispered, just lay in his sleeping bag, eyes open, lips moving. Tom leaned closer. "You don't belong here. Stop calling me that." "I didn't bury her." Tom shook him. "Ryan." Ryan blinked. His pupils were wide. "You weren't supposed to know," he whispered. "You weren't supposed to remember me." Later, in that thin veil between waking and sleep, Tom heard his mother's voice. Not a memory, a sound, real, crisp, close. "Don't go too far, baby." He sat up fast. She was standing at the tree line. Same red sweater she wore when he was 6. Same brown hair tied behind her ears, but something was wrong. Her arms were too long. Her hands didn't move when she spoke, and her eyes weren't blinking. "Mom?" he asked, trembling. She smiled. "Come here, Tommy. I remember you now." He didn't move, because some deep buried instinct was screaming. "Your mother died in 2012, and she never said those words." When the dim light returned, Ryan was sitting outside the ruined structure, staring at the entrance. "I think it's a gate," he said. "To what?" Devin asked. Ryan didn't answer. He just said, "I think it only opens for people who forget enough." Tom scanned the trees, and then he saw it. Spiral carvings, on trunks, on bark, even faintly scratched into the side of his backpack. He hadn't carved them, but they were fresh. That evening, Elijah gathered them, his voice steady, his face pale. "This trail doesn't end with a clearing, or a lake, or a rescue." Devin asked, "Then what's at the end?" Elijah looked at each of them. "It ends with who you really are. It leads you to the version of yourself the forest remembers. And if that version is stronger than the one you've built..." He paused. "You don't come back." They followed the spirals, not because they trusted them, but because everything else felt like it was looping. A snake eating its own tail. And the spirals, at least, were moving somewhere. Every tree now carried one, freshly carved, not just random, precise, mathematical. Some mirrored clockwise, others reversed, counterclockwise. Tom whispered, "They're not signs, they're choices." No one responded. Hours passed, or minutes. No one could tell any more, not even Elijah. Then they saw it, through the trees, half shielded by fog. Their own campsite, the same tarp, same extinguished fire pit, even their sleeping bags undisturbed, like they never left. Devin stumbled backward. "That's not possible. We've been walking for hours." Ryan's mouth hung open. "That's not our camp." "Elijah, It's a reflection. Tom shook his head. Number, it's worse. He walked forward slowly. At the edge of the camp, he found another backpack. Torn, molded. Same brand, same color. And inside a journal. Not his handwriting, but every page detailed the same trip. Same names, same group, but different endings. Page after page of... Tom broke his leg near the ravine. Elijah turned around on the third day. Nick never existed. Ryan screamed until the trees took him. Dozens of versions, all of them wrong, but not completely. Each one felt slightly familiar, like remembering a nightmare that might have been real. Devin sat down hard. His face was blank, mouth dry. "Why does my nose feel broken?" he asked quietly. "What?" Tom turned to him. "I don't remember getting hit, but it aches like I did. And my elbow. It's bruised, right?" Tom checked. It was. Devin looked at him. "I think I lived through something I don't remember." Elijah slowly exhaled. "It's already happening." They walked again. This time, through a field. At first it looked like soil, damp, empty. Then they realized it wasn't dirt. It was shoes, hundreds, half buried, mud-caked, torn, paired and unpaired. Boots, sneakers, hiking sandals, kids' shoes. Some still had bones inside. Some had names written on the soles. Ryan stepped on one and froze. It said, Ryan G, left at hollow. Another said, Elijah T, version 4. Devin picked one up. Inside was a folded photo. It showed them, the whole group, standing in a clearing, smiling. Behind them, the hollow tree. Tom looked around. They'd never taken that picture. But that was their gear, their jackets, their faces. Only Nick was in the center, but his face was blurred. That night, no one slept. Devin began pacing, muttering to himself, ripping bark off trees, digging shallow holes with his bare hands. He shouted once, at nothing. "You said I was strong." Then at Tom, "You remember what I did to my dog when I was 10? Tom blinked. "What are you talking about?" Devin's eyes were wild. "I didn't do it, but I remember it. I remember the rock, the sound he fell to his knees. I remember it." He didn't sleep again after that, just sat in the dirt whispering, "I'm not me, I'm not me, I'm not me." That was the night the door opened. The structure, the black-walled rot box they'd found days before, was suddenly standing tall again, whole, complete, with a door that hadn't been there before, and it was open, only a crack, but enough to see inside. Tom stepped toward it. Elijah grabbed his arm. "Don't. I need to know," Tom said. He walked up to the door, felt wind, cold and dry, brush across his face. Inside nothing was visible, just darkness. But it wasn't empty. It was aware. Something in there was breathing in sync with him. And then, Tom. A whisper, his name, from inside his own mouth. His jaw hadn't moved. His tongue hadn't shaped it. But the voice had come from him. "Come back in. It's warmer this time." Tom backed away. The door remained open. The others stood behind him, silent. Then Ryan said, "I saw myself sleeping in there." Devin laughed, a dry, bitter laugh. "I think I'm already inside." The wind shifted. The forest rippled. Trees bending, sky smudging, earth throbbing like it was alive. The spirals on the trees began to glow faintly, like embers inside bark. Tom clutched his head. He could feel something slipping. Not a thought. A self. He turned to Elijah. "Is this it?" Elijah didn't answer. He just stared at the door and whispered, "This is the part where you stop leaving footprints." Tom stepped inside. The wooden structure creaked but didn't collapse. It welcomed him. Inside, the walls weren't rotted anymore. They were smooth, polished, breathing, not metaphorically, literally. The wood pulsed, contracted, expanded, like lungs. Tom's breath grew shallow. "I don't belong here," he whispered. And from behind him, the darkness replied, "But you remember this place, don't you?" He turned. No one. But then, someone stepped forward, out of a shadow that didn't belong to any object. It was him, not exactly. Taller, paler, eyes darker, hair soaked, and older. His voice sounded like it had come from inside Tom's skull. "I stayed. You left. That's the only difference." Tom backed away. "What is this?" The other him smiled. Not warm, not threatening, just empty. "You came here looking for answers, but what you really brought was permission." Permission for what? For the forest to finish what it started. Outside, the others were falling apart. Devin stood with his back to them, murmuring to a tree, repeating the same thing, over and over. "He's still in the garage. He never left the garage. If I open the door, he's still in the garage." Elijah walked up to him slowly. "Devin." Devin turned around and had someone else's face. Not fully, just for a second. Tom's face. Then it snapped back. Ryan screamed. Elijah staggered backward. The spirals on Devin's neck were moving, shifting, twisting, spelling words. Ryan whispered, "That's Latin." Elijah read it out loud. "Ego sum qui memini." I am the one who remembers. Back inside the structure, Tom's double circled him. Every step echoed like it hit water, not wood. "Do you know what the hollow pass really is?" Tom clenched his fists. "A cursed place, a loop, a grave. Wrong. It's a reflection. It holds onto echoes, not of people, but of the versions they could have been, the versions they tried to bury." The walls shimmered. Images appeared. Tom at age 6, watching his father cry in the kitchen. Tom at age 14, hiding a letter in his backpack he never sent. Tom at age 19, standing at a cliff's edge, phone in hand, tears on his face. "Stop," he whispered. The double stepped closer. "You don't even remember half of these," Tom snapped. "They're not real." The double leaned in. "Neither are you anymore." Outside, Ryan started to see 2 of everyone. 2 Elijahs, 2 Devins, 2 Nicks. And Nick was gone. He blinked rapidly, tried to shake it off. But the more he looked, the more they stayed. Same body. Slight differences in posture. Eyes, expression. One would smile, the other would weep. And both would stare back like they knew him better than he knew himself. He cried out, "Which one's real?" Elijah grabbed him by the shoulders. "There is no real anymore, Ryan. There's only what the trail lets you keep." Ryan whispered, "I don't even remember who I was before we got here." Inside the structure, the room darkened again. Tom's double placed something at his feet. A bag. Tom's bag. Only it wasn't his. The patches were different. The zipper torn. Inside, photos. One showed Nick, smiling in front of a lake they'd never visited. One showed Elijah, standing with a man Tom didn't know. One showed Tom, with no face, just a smear where the eyes and mouth should be. Tom backed up. "I'm leaving." His double just smiled again. "You already did." Tom burst out of the door, fell to his knees, gasping. The structure behind him was gone. Elijah and Ryan ran to him. Devin wasn't there. The spirals on Ryan's hands had deepened, etched like tattoos now. Tom looked up, shaking. "He's not gone." "Who?" Elijah asked. "Me." He turned slowly, staring at the empty patch of earth where the structure had been. "He's still in there, and he remembers more than I do." Later that night, Devin was found sitting at the same tree as before, whispering again, His voice sounded like Tom's now. Elijah crouched. "Devin, is that you?" Devin turned. His face was shifting, morphing, between himself, Tom, Ryan, Nick, even Elijah. His mouth opened, but 5 voices came out. At once. "Why do you think we bring people here?" Ryan stumbled back. "We?" The Devin thing stood. Every spiral on his body glowed, pulsing like veins. And then it said, "Because one day, someone will finally choose to stay." The forest began changing around them, literally. Trees moved, paths curved backward. A clearing they crossed 2 hours ago was suddenly ahead of them. The map Elijah had drawn was now filled with blank spaces, ink smeared, trails erased. Ryan tried marking trees again. This time the bark healed. Within minutes, the spiral he carved melted away like it was never there. Tom whispered, "It doesn't want us to find a way out anymore." Elijah replied, "It never did." They moved anyway. Devin was gone, or at least whatever had once been Devin. They didn't speak his name again. Every time someone even thought it, a strange echo pulsed in their ears, like their own thoughts had a delay. So now they moved in silence, toward a sound, faint but real. Running water. If they could find a stream, maybe it led to the valley, to the road, to the edge. But what they found wasn't a river. It was a pool, stagnant, black, dead birds floating in it. Their own reflections in the water were not synced. They blinked, and the image blinked a second later. Ryan turned away, vomited into the leaves. That night, it rained. First real rain since the start. But it didn't fall straight. The water bent sideways mid-air, like it was dodging them. Tom held out his hand. The drops avoided his skin. Elijah muttered, "It's rejecting us." "Ryan, we've been here too long." Then came the scratching, first on bark, then louder, under their sleeping bags, then from the trees above. A voice, layered and thick, came from every direction at once. "You won't remember leaving. You won't remember trying. You won't even remember who tried first." Tom shouted, "Shut up!" But the forest didn't shut up. Instead, it whispered directly into his mind, "We already made you say that 7 times. That's when Ryan disappeared. Not in front of them. They just turned, and he wasn't there. No sound, no scream, no movement, just missing. Tom panicked, looked around. "Elijah, Ryan's gone." Elijah blinked. "Ryan?" He tilted his head. "Who's Ryan?" Tom's heart dropped. "You don't remember?" Elijah frowned harder. "Should I?" Tom grabbed his arm. "He was just with us 5 minutes ago." Elijah stared at him like he'd gone mad. "There's never been a Ryan." Tom broke. He screamed, clawed at the dirt, kicked at the trees. And every time he screamed Ryan's name, the air got colder, and the spiral marks on his own arms grew, carving deeper into skin, until blood seeped out from places he'd never been cut. He ran. Didn't tell Elijah. Didn't think. Just ran. Through underbrush, through low branches, into thorns. He heard a river. Not a pool. A real river. And just ahead, sunlight. Actual golden sunlight. He fell to his knees, but as he looked up, he saw himself, walking toward the light, smiling, uninjured, backpack full, alone. The other Tom turned to look at him, smiled. "You already made it out, remember?" Then he stepped into the light and vanished. Tom stumbled back, fell hard. Rain soaked his face now, no longer dodging. But it tasted wrong, like ash. He screamed again. Elijah, Ryan, Devin, Nick. But none of those names felt real anymore. And deep inside, he felt like he was missing one more. A name he should have known. a name he once whispered in his sleep, but it was gone. The forest had eaten it. He found Elijah hours later, sitting, still, calm, staring at a dead tree. Tom sat beside him, quiet. Neither spoke for a long time. Then Elijah said, "How long do you think we've been here?" Tom didn't answer. Elijah smiled, eyes glassy. "I think I've lived this before." He turned to Tom. "Have we met?" That night, Tom took the journal from his pack, opened to the first page, and found handwriting he didn't recognize. But it told the whole story of a man named Tom who came to Hollow Pass with 4 friends, who lost them, one by one, who forgot who he was, and now sits in a forest that no longer knows his name. And as he read it, he realized he didn't remember writing a word of it. Tom couldn't sleep anymore. Sleep felt like a trap now, a soft, slow place where his thoughts wandered too far and never came back the same. Instead, he sat awake, watching the spirals on his arm pulse faintly under his skin. They weren't carved anymore. They were growing from inside. Elijah didn't speak the next morning. He just stood, facing east. Tom asked where he wanted to go. Elijah didn't respond. Then he whispered something, low, broken. "You're not Tom." Tom froze. "What did you say?" Elijah turned. His eyes were blank. "I don't think you were ever Tom." And he walked away, into the trees. Tom tried to follow, but the forest was thick, not just with trees, but with silhouettes, figures, half seen, all standing, not walking, not breathing, just watching. He couldn't move forward, because every step closer made them tilt their heads, like they were listening with their bones. One figure had Elijah's hoodie, another had Nick's frame. Another stood exactly like Devin used to, with one shoulder slightly lower. None of them had faces, just shadowed skin where features should be. Tom backed away. The moment he turned, they moved, not fast, not aggressive, but closer. He ran again, falling through branches, clawing at the dirt, and then stumbled into a new space, an old clearing. In the center, a stone slab, weather-worn, cracked, surrounded by rotted backpacks, rusty watches, shredded notebooks, smashed phones. One still had battery. It blinked. August 2nd, 1997. But that wasn't possible, because the bag it sat in was a model released in 2022. Tom stepped closer. On the stone slab was something freshly carved, a name, T. Garrison, his own last name. His fingers trembled, because he didn't remember ever telling anyone his last name here. He turned around fast. The forest was silent, empty. Even the birds had stopped mimicking sounds. For the first time, there was no echo. Tom sat down at the edge of the clearing. He opened his journal. There was something new inside, a page he hadn't seen. It was written in his handwriting, but he didn't remember writing it. When the spiral reaches your heart, you won't need a name anymore. He looked down. The markings on his arm had reached his shoulder. They were now etched faintly onto his chest. He touched the spot. It was warm, pulsing, alive. Then came the voices, not around him, inside him. Whispers from memories he never had. A girl screaming from inside a car crash. A father yelling down a hallway. A baby crying alone in a bathtub. And in all of them, he was there, not watching, doing. He stood, walked slowly back toward where Elijah had vanished. But the trail was gone. Only thing left was a new spiral, freshly carved, hanging from a branch. It wasn't wood. It was skin. Tom backed away, and that's when he saw his own footprints. But there were 3 sets. One headed in, one headed out, and one going in circles. He followed the ones going in circles, not because he wanted to, but because his legs moved before he told them to. Every step he took echoed louder than before, not around him, but inside him. The thud of his heel matched the beat of the spiral, like the forest was syncing his body to its rhythm. Hours passed, or minutes. Time was broken. Then he reached another clearing. Empty, clean, too clean, not a leaf out of place. And in the center, a chair, plain wood, facing nothing, and standing behind it, himself. Older, calm, barefoot. This time, the double didn't speak. He just pointed to the chair. Tom stepped forward, hands shaking. "If I sit, what happens?" The double blinked, spoke softly. "You remember, and then no one else will." Tom paused, looked down. The spiral on his chest had stopped pulsing, like it was waiting. Far off, something cried. A real voice, desperate, a name. "Tom, don't." Elijah. He was still out there, alive, calling him back. But the forest whispered louder. "You're already sitting." Tom looked again and realized he was. Somehow, without noticing, he was already in the chair. The moment he noticed, he couldn't remember how he got there. He couldn't remember Elijah, or Ryan, or the trailhead, or what month it was, or what he looked like without the spiral. But he remembered one thing, the last thing the forest said, in his own voice. "The more you forget, the easier it is to keep you." And then the spiral etched into his heart, went still. Elijah wandered the woods for what felt like hours. His water was gone, his breath shallow, but something in him refused to stop, because he was sure Tom was still out there, or at least a version of him. Then, a shape in the fog. Not a figure, not a tree, something else. A mound of soil, small, overgrown. He knelt beside it, cleared the moss. Beneath it, a pack, Tom's pack, still zipped, still holding the exact gear he'd left base camp with. The journal lay inside. Elijah flipped to the last page, blank, until the words began appearing, ink bleeding in real time. If you're reading this, you're already too late. He shut the book, heart pounding, turned in place, ready to run, and saw Tom standing a few feet away. But he didn't look up, didn't move, just stared downward, like he was stuck mid-thought. Elijah called out, "Tom." The man blinked, once, then turned slowly and walked into the trees, leaving no footprints. Elijah followed, desperately. "I saw you. You're still here, please." But the trees swallowed him again, and in his place was the chair, the same one Tom had sat in, now empty. But beside it, a second chair, wooden, weathered, facing the same direction. Elijah looked at it for a long time, and then backed away. He walked without direction now, no compass, no trail, no plan, only instinct. That gut-deep desperation, to not be the last one left. Then a sound, distant, real. Voices, new ones, young, confident, joking. Elijah rushed forward, pushing past low branches, tripping over roots, and broke into a clearing. 4 people stood there, smiling, posing for a photo. Brand new boots, fresh packs. The same place he and Tom had once arrived in. Elijah stumbled toward them. "Hey, you need to turn back. Please, don't go forward." They didn't flinch, didn't turn, didn't even acknowledge him. He waved his arms, yelled, "I'm here, I know the way out. You don't have to do this." But one of them walked right through him. He gasped, looked down. No shadow, no footprint where he stood. He turned toward the trail marker, where once names were carved into the wood. Now fresh etching appeared. Elijah T., version unknown. And somewhere, deep in the woods, a spiral began to glow again. He sat down on a nearby rock, suddenly exhausted. Then he heard something behind him. Footsteps, slow, measured, like someone walking in circles. He didn't turn, just whispered, "Tom." The footsteps stopped, but no voice answered. And so he sat, for hours, for days, maybe forever. Because in Hollow Pass, you only leave if the trail lets go, and it never does.